everyone. I'm Deborah Baska, and I'm from Kansas City, and I'm really excited to share a little bit about my story with you. And I'm giving this the overall topic of the power of belief, because I believe that's really at the core of my story. A little bit of credentials on me. I'm in Kansas City. I've been a coach over 5 years, so I'm an old timer now, but I can still remember when I was the newbie baby coach. Just seems like yesterday. I'm 4-time elite, and our team is working feverishly on making that the big 5. We are a 10-star diamond team, 1-star in our second business center, and I'm a Success Club 10 legend, and I believe this is my 60th month at Success Club 10. And so consistency, and just being really steady with my business and how I work my business has been a cornerstone for how I've built my business. But backing up, before I was a Beachbody coach, I was a vice president in corporate America. And I was coming up on my 20-year anniversary. I had been at that job right out of college, and it was never intended to be my forever job. It was certainly not my dream job. It wasn't at all what I saw myself doing with my life. There was really nothing sexy or glamorous or meaningful about it, but the almighty dollar prevailed, and I started earning a really good income, and I started progressing up the corporate ladder, and that's really what I was taught was success. My mom was a working mom almost all of my childhood and into my teen years. And she kind of gave me the role model of being a powerful, successful woman in the business world. And so that's what I set off to do. And I found Beachbody, my husband and I, through being a customer, and we bought our P90X off the infomercial, and we had great success with that. So when I decided to become a coach, again, I did it kind of for the discount, kind of intrigued by the possibilities, but the interesting thing about it is I am not somebody that, in my opinion at least, should ever have been successful in this kind of business. Number one, I did not believe in network marketing. I had no belief that it was really a viable business solution. I had heard stories, you see the big names in the magazines and things of people that had been successful with it, but those were not people like me, right? Those were not people like me. And so I didn't come into this thinking, and really I was, again, brought up to be a traditional business person. And so risk was not, I have a very low risk factor. And in fact, I never ever wanted to do sales because I didn't want to deal with commissions. I wanted to know exactly how much I was going to make every pay period and plan all of my life accordingly. And so here I am now as a Beachbody coach. The other reasons why I should not have been successful in this business was because I'm a raving introvert. Let's just put it that way. I don't have a large social circle, right? And we all know those aren't important factors, but that's, I'm not, building a business that's based on relationships. That has never been my forte. At least it never was in corporate America. And what this business has done for me has taught me so much about myself and about growing as a person, because the baggage that I wore was that I'm not a people person, that I'm not likable, that I'm really not that great of a leader. Even though I was a VP in corporate America, I was not given a lot of positive reinforcement with my abilities there. And I really came into this kind of having a low belief in myself. I had stopped dreaming. Again, I was approaching my 20-year anniversary at the company, and that had been this big goal of mine. Once I determined that I wasn't going anywhere else, that really this was going to be it, I set out to become, a tenured employee, and not many people had made it to their 20 years. And so that was going to be I would be one of the few. It would be rare air, if you will. And so I was excited about that. But I was, around my 40s, my early 40s, 40, 41. And as I'm looking at that goal, and it's becoming very, very close, that led me to think about, well, what's next? And what's next was retirement, which was a good another 20 years away. And when I thought about doing another 20 years of what I had been doing at the same place, in the same industry, I was just almost flabbergasted that this was going to be my life. It felt like a death sentence. And, while I was going through all of this and looking forward to this 20-year anniversary, things at the company, my rose-colored glasses with corporate America and my company were vastly fading. I was becoming very unhappy with my job. I was getting very tired of the corporate politics and the backstabbing and the office bullying and just all of the things that were constantly making me feel like I wasn't enough. And I know that comes from within, but it was not helping. And on top of all of this, in my early 40s, about all the time all of this was happening, I had entered sobriety. And so, I'd worked really hard to get there, and being in a state of sobriety and no longer drinking, giving up, things like that, I was really, really trying to surround myself with positivity and hope and peace and serenity. And I was feeling all of those things in every aspect of my life except for my job. And my job was the part of my life that was still making me crazy. It's the part of my life that would still cause me to have great anxiety and pits in my stomach and just, like sleepless nights. And anyone that's entered sobriety, that anything that makes you crazy and squirrely is not a good thing. And so I felt very, very stuck and very unhappy. So when I decided to become a Beachbody coach, not really knowing it was going to be my next step of my career, but as I got started in the business and learned what it was all about, I knew that this might be something that I could do. But again, I'm not really a people person. I don't know that many people. Who would I even ask to do this? But fast forward again, about 6 months after I became a coach, my unhappy job ended. And after feeling bereft and after grieving, right, because 20 years, you feel very betrayed that it had to come to that, I then felt a sense of euphoria. And so here's where the belief part comes in. From a person that really didn't have a lot of belief in themselves, I found that over the course of the past 6 months, by being a Beachbody coach and doing the personal development that had been recommended to me, I had developed a belief. I had started to believe in myself again. I started to dare to dream again. And that's why I call my team Team Dare to Dream, because for me, truly, it was transformational the way I began to look at my future and look at myself. And all of a sudden, I had hope for doing something meaningful and being happy and feeling good about myself. And so when I lost my job, I told my husband, I said, I'm going to make this work. I'm not going back to corporate America. And I did have a separation package, so I had a cushion. So I don't recommend that anybody, quit their job before they've replaced their income, because I certainly had not replaced my income. I wasn't even close to replacing it. 6 months. I wasn't even a diamond coach at that time. But I started to have the belief and I started to have a vision. And I can tell you that for the next year, it was just belief. It was belief that drove me, and it was doing my personal development. And the belief came not only from what I was reading, but it also started to come from you, from Beachbody, from other coaches, from corporate. And I still remember, it was a very transformational moment. I still remember it was sometime into, I left my job in October, and it was probably February of the following year. I had hit diamond by then. And I just remember somebody from corporate reaching out to me and telling me that I was on track to be elite. And I was so surprised. I barely even knew what that was, because it was certainly nothing I had my sights set on, right? I was still a new coach. I was still just trying to figure out how I was going to not go back to corporate America. And I was told, you can do it. You are on track for this. And it started to, again, change my belief about myself. You know, I was having ideas kind of planted in my head of possibilities that I had never dared to imagine for myself. And I can tell you that through that whole year, it was my first full year as a coach, that whole year, as I was working so hard to replace my income, you know, I can remember my husband, you know, as the year went on and the separation package and the savings was whittling away and the income was not rising as fast as it needed to. I can remember my husband, I remember one day he said, he goes, so Deborah, what's the plan B? And I said, I don't have a plan B. There is no plan B. You know, I'll go get another job. I'll go work at a Hallmark store. I'll go work at, you know, the grocery store. I'll go work at, you know, not a clothing store because then I would buy all the clothes, right? But I'll go and I'll do anything in the meantime to make ends meet. I will even, you know, I'm happy if we sell the house because I've learned that I don't need more stuff. I need this way of life. And this way of life was freedom. And this way of life was doing something and working hard for myself and for my family, not for somebody else. And it was the work, the effort was even more. I was putting forth more effort working on my Beachbody business than I had in my other job for a long, long time because my heart was in this. My heart was in this business. And so I didn't have a plan B. And I just kept believing. I just kept telling him, I'm going to make this work. Just give me a little bit of time. Do what we have to do to get through. Just to get through, but it's going to happen. And the income started to rise, and it started to, you know, fortunately, it got to the point where, you know, I hadn't entirely replaced it by the end of that first year, but it was enough that we could keep going, right? And so I had replaced my income by the end of the second year, and I had more than replaced it, and now it's more than double what I was making in corporate America as a vice president. But the thing that got me through was belief. And the personal development, the book that really changed my life was The Attractor Factor. And that's by Joe Vitale. And I listened to it on Audible. And I would just listen to it in my car. And I would just play it all the time. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I need to take notes. I need to take notes. But I didn't need to take notes. I just needed to let it sink in. And from there, I have learned to guard my beliefs so religiously. And I don't let negativity in. And if I start to feel down on myself, I check myself. And I flex my mental mindset muscle, because we in this business can't afford to be negative. We can't afford to think of the what ifs and the not what happens if and the what if I don't. We can only think of the what happens when. What happens when I do this, when I achieve this. I am. And that's the biggest thing I've learned from this business. And I love Beachbody for that, because that's something that I will keep with me no matter if I'm a coach or not, which I'm planning to be a coach forever. This is the job that I never knew I always wanted to do when I grew up. So, but I can say that, you know, I haven't been the fastest rising star. I've done well. I mean, 4-time elite is pretty incredible. And I'm very proud of our team, you know, but I'd say my biggest struggle right now is feeling like I'm not doing enough and looking at other people and playing that comparison game. And it's tempting. It's tempting to want to do that. It's second nature for me and probably for a lot of you. But with that mental mindset muscle, I flex it, and I remind myself, and my husband reminds me too, because he's done a lot of the same personal development now, and he's my partner in this as well. But I remind myself that it's not about anybody else's journey. It's about my journey. And abundance is infinite. Success is infinite. abundance is everywhere. And so nobody else's success takes away from mine. And we have to build our businesses the way that it works for our family and for our goals and for us, because we're all different. So, I'd say that probably my biggest struggle has been just kind of, number one, getting over the mindset that, network marketing was kind of a lesser thing than being in corporate America, and kind of that, what are other people going to think about me now that I'm doing this? And now I'm like, I don't care. I don't care what anybody else thinks, because this is working for our family. This is working for us. And this is meaningful, and it makes me feel good. And, like I said, I am a better person now because I'm a Beachbody coach. And the power of belief, if that's something that I could just stuff inside of every one of my coaches, every one of my challengers, that's what I would do. So whatever you are doing with your business, guard your thoughts just so jealously, so tightly, and protect your positivity, protect your I am statements, and check yourself. Whenever your mind starts to go somewhere, check yourself. You are capable. Why not you? I am successful. I am making a difference in this world. And remember, it's your journey, not anybody else's journey, not any other coach's journey. Just love what you do. Believe in yourself and in this business. Do your personal development, because I'm telling you, you all know that, but I'm just telling you, that's the difference maker for my business. Coming from a place of complete negativity and despair before I became sober, just downright despair for my life, to where I'm at today, it's all about the power of belief. Thank you for listening, and I hope that this was helpful. Let's rock the end of 2016.